All right, what is happening, you British Beedrill? Today, we're taking a look at Miraidon. Now, initially, when I started to build a Miraidon deck last week, I got pretty discouraged. I started putting it together, and I was like, it feels like there's too many missing pieces to make this thing work. But throughout that week, I kind of thought about it a little bit more, and I got inspired to actually put a build together. So we're going to be taking a look at a Miraidon build here. I think there's still some life in Miraidon. I did lose quite a few big pieces, but we didn't lose like Electric Generator or anything ridiculous like that. So it still has most of its most powerful cards. Before we jump into it though, if you're looking for some dope Pokemon merch like this mat, or like any of the shirts you see me wear on stream all the time, they're all from QualityPatchDesigns.com. They got the best Pokemon merch out there. Check them out. Link, of course, will be in the description. The coolest thing they do over there is they can turn any card artwork into a t-shirt. And if you're the first person to get that card artwork turned into a t-shirt, you get a first edition stamp on there as well. Check them out. QualityPatchDesigns.com. Link in the description. Code AzulGG over there will get you a discount as well. All right, so let's get into it. We'll start off with the main Pokemon. I guess I don't even know. Is this the main attacker in the deck anymore? Probably not. Miraidon's a good attacker still. And I will say, before we get into this, it does feel like a decent amount of your game plans in a couple of your matchups, or a decent amount of your matchups, play pretty similarly to the future Iron Hands deck. There is 3 Iron Hands in this Miraidon list, and I do have some heavy batons, so you are going to have quite a few of your matchups play pretty similarly to how the future Iron Hands or the future Hands deck plays out. But the strength of the Miraidon deck will definitely come through the other attacking options, whereas the future Iron Hands decks basically attacks with Miraidon and then Iron Hands, and that's kind of it. We have some more aggressive early options, mainly with Miraidon, of course, with the Photon Blaster, the 220. Of course, it's going to be our initial setup Pokemon with that tandem unit as well. And then we have some late game heavier hitters like the Raichu. I still have 2 Raichu V in here. No Super Rod currently, but that could definitely be adjusted. Currently rocking just the 2 Raichu V. Still have the Raikou in here, a super efficient attacker for the early game, mid game, and late game, especially going after those 2 prize Pokemon like Luminions, Squawkabilly, stuff like that. You're always going to want the Raikou for that. We do have the Forest Seal Stone in here as well, so that's pretty cool. And then, yes, like I mentioned, 3 Iron Hands. That's right, 3 of them in here. Of course, we have the heavy baton now. It's that much easier to chain Iron Hands, and they amp you very much. And I think there's a decent amount of matchups where we will want to open up with this and then have the option to maybe just use Iron Hands the whole game, or maybe use 2 Iron Hands for the first 4 prize cards, and then maybe Raichu for the last 2 up against like a Charizard matchup. We'd probably want to play it out that way. So 3 Iron Hands in here, and yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but yeah, I think a lot of our matchups are going to go that way. Still got the 1 Zapdos in here, mainly so we can boost the damage of Miraidon to be able to hit one-hit KOs on other Iron Hands. I could see also playing the Cobalion in here to boost the damage up against the Charizard matchup. Roaring Moon really isn't a deck right now, so I'm not too worried about Roaring Moon, but I still got the Zapdos in here. I could see making it a Cobalion specifically for the Charizard matchup. Still have the 2 Mew EX. Another big card that we lost for Miraidon, to be honest, is the Peony, besides just losing the Flaffy, but still 2 Mew EX here. Mew EX here as our constant draw engine throughout games. You need those, the draw power, early game draw power, of course, coming in with that Squawkabilly as always. And I do have 1 Luminion in here. We have a little bit more bench space to work with now that we're no longer setting up Flaffy in play ever. So mid-game, early game, late game, really doesn't matter. We might want an early Arven, we might want a mid-game boss or a late-game boss. Luminion can be there to help us out with that. I still play 4 Ultra Ball in here to help with that, so still got the Luminion in here. For the supporters, heavy on the research for Professor's Research. I actually don't play that many supporters in here, or it's just like utility/draw supporters. 2 Arven. I initially started at a count of 4 Arven and eventually worked my way down to 2, so it could definitely go up a little bit higher on the Arven count. Maybe we actually even go ahead and add some Ionos as well. That's possible. We could go back to some Ionos. I have 0 Iono right now. Judge is also a possibility. And then 2 Boss's Orders for some consistent gusting. The rest of our gusting is a little bit less consistent. Well, a little bit more powerful and a little bit less consistent, but we'll get into that here in just a second. 4 Electric Generators, of course, need those. And that's why I still like the idea of the Arvens, to be honest, because finding the Electric Generators without Peony sounds really annoying now, to be honest. 4 Ultra Balls. Find our Pokemon, thin out our hand to draw more cards with the Mew EX, of course, and then really good to utilize with Luminion to get that key supporter on that key turn. Only 1 Nest Ball to go with that as well. This is definitely something we could increase the count of as well. Might want more than just the 1 Nest Ball. We do need some count of switch cards, so I do have the 2 switch card in here. We also are playing an emergency board, which we'll talk about that in just a second here. 4 Pokemon catchers and 1 Prime Catcher. So we're really trying to be aggressive with the gust effects in this build, and I'm not sure if this is the correct way to go. I'm not gonna lie. I got the catchers in here currently, but I could maybe see Prime Catcher with just a couple bosses orders being good enough. We maybe don't need 4 Pokemon catcher. Maybe 3 to 4 boss plus a prime catcher is good enough. I do like the idea of the aggressiveness of the Pokemon catchers though, so current build going to be starting out with those. 1 prime catcher, like I mentioned. Only 1 Forest Seal Stone. Could see it being worth going up to 2 of these. It's always a great card in the deck, of course. For the other tool cards, we got a lot of them. 3 EXP share. We don't have Flaffy anymore to help us accelerate energy and play, so we need some more energy retention in the deck, and that's what the EXP shares are here for. And of course, the new energy retaining tool card, the Heavy Baton, got 2 of those in here. This allows us to potentially chain back to back to back Iron Hands and just go Iron Hands, Iron Hands, Iron Hands, combo that with the aggressive gust effects. We don't have to constantly bring a Pokemon in the active that Iron Hands can 1-hit KO, and there's definitely the possibility just to use 3 Iron Hands in a row to draw our 6 prize cards. And then the last one is a emergency board. Emergency board reduces the retreat cost of our active Pokemon by 1. This kind of combos the way that the old, what was the card called? Beach Court kind of did, where you could use like Peony for Beach Court plus like a generator most of the time. That give you like your switch card plus a generator to work with for more energy in play. You can do kind of the same thing with Arven. You can play the Arven, you can get a generator, and if you have like a Miraidon you're active with 1 retreat cost, you can also grab yourself an emergency board, and that becomes like your pivot for turn to get into your Iron Hands or your Raikou or whatever you might need to get into. So yeah, the emergency board's really, really good. Could even see going up to 2 of them possibly, but I'd probably still want to go with a heavier switch count because stuff like the Iron Hands, the Zapdos, has the 2 and the 4 retreat cost. 4? Yeah, it is 4. 2 and 4 retreat cost, so we'd probably want to go with a heavier switch count before we add any more emergency board, but 1 emergency board at the very least we should definitely include, because that way we can get switch cards through the Arven besides switch card. So instead we can use the item slot of Arven to get an electric generator. And I have 1 town store in here. In the current format in general, or in this format in general, stadiums kind of stink, because in the past the reason stadium cards are really, really good is because they had some effect that you could take advantage of, and also potentially bumped Paths of the Peak. Paths of the Peak's rotated, so stadiums are pretty mid. However, something like a town store is a little bit better, I would say, than like a 2nd Forest Seal Stone or a 4th EXP share or a 3rd Heavy Baton or a 2nd emergency board, because it could be any of those. So if you draw into town store, it could literally be any of these tools. But if I drew into, I don't know, if this was just a 4th EXP share and I drew into the 4th EXP share, it's only an EXP share. So if I already have all the EXP shares I need, it gets a little bit repetitive. So have a town store in here instead. I don't think I would increase the numbers of any of these tool cards either. Like, is it maybe 2nd Forest Seal Stone if we really feel like it's that important and prizing it is that detrimental to our strategies. Maybe a 2nd emergency board, but I don't think I'd ever do a 4th EXP share or a 3rd Heavy Baton. If you like, if your Heavy Baton gets vacuumed and you don't get access to it, then there's not really time to use another Heavy Baton anyways. So having enough access to the Heavy Baton is the important part. I guess if we're doing triple Iron Hands in enough matchups where like prizing a Heavy Baton just loses us too many games, I could see the 3rd Heavy Baton coming in. I don't know if I would cut the town store for it. And I think if we're just kind of feeling like we're not setting up our tool cards aggressively enough, I would just include another town store before I included another tool card initially. And I'm not going to forget about the energy this time. I forgot it about a couple times. I'm not forgetting about it this time. There's really no room. Let's put them over here. I got 14 lightning energy and 1 double turbo energy. Nothing super special. Could definitely go a little bit higher in the lightning energy, increase our odds of the generators hitting. Could go a little bit lower as well. I wouldn't hate coming down to like 13 potentially. And also, maybe with the idea of trying to be so aggressive with the Iron Hands, I could see playing 2 double turbo to kind of make up for the turns or the situations where our opponent is able to get rid of our Heavy Baton. Then we have a little bit more energy to put in play through more double turbos. I can also just see cutting the double turbo as well, to be honest. But yeah, double turbo's been pretty good up to this point. Of course, as a new format, things do change a little bit. Will it be as good as it was last format as the rotation Temporal Forces format? Who knows? But that's my first take on Miraidon. Definitely some work to be done. The biggest questions I personally have is the catchers. Are catchers necessary, or does prime catcher as just having that at least 1 item guaranteed gust effect, is that enough? Should it just be like 4 boss plus a prime catcher, maybe 3 boss, something like that? Or is it being more aggressive with those coin flips? I know it's coin flips. Is that good enough? Another card that I thought about as well to go alongside that kind of bench manipulation / disruption is we lost Escape Rope, but the Iron Bundle could be pretty good. The only thing with that, though, is we don't play a ton of Pokemon search cards, so finding the Iron Bundle could be a little bit iffy, but I do think the Iron Bundle could be a solid inclusion. We did lose the Escape Rope, but we could make up for it with Iron Bundle, because you could even still go like Arven for Nest Ball or Ultra Ball or Nest Ball into the Iron Bundle, and then you can still get it through Arven like you would normally get Escape Rope. So you have like about the same amount of access to it, if not a little bit more, I guess, because if you just naturally draw into an Ultra Ball or Nest Ball, that can become an Iron Bundle, but it could never become an Escape Rope. The more I think about it, the more I like the idea of the Iron Bundle. Definitely want to give that a shot for sure. But maybe also Prime Catcher kind of makes up for that as well, but maybe having both And now I'm really thinking about that iron bundle. What I really want is more ways to find generators. I really miss the peony. I really miss the idea of the peony for sure. And that's another reason that I've kind of thought about the idea of potentially using a second forest seal stone. Just like more consistent ways to get those early generators are so important. I could see a second forest seal stone. Maybe the second town store would be a little bit better. But that's where my head is at for where the build currently is and the things I'll be thinking about when I do initially pick it up and start trying it out. All right, hope you all enjoyed it. I'll catch y'all in the next one.